You know that specific feeling you get when you walk into an old, empty house?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Or maybe you've stumbled across a factory that's been closed for, I don't know, 20 years?
Right, where the windows are all shattered.
Exactly. The windows are shattered, and there's a tree growing right through the break room floor.
It's quite the sight.
It is. It's not just silence. It's a very specific kind of heavy atmosphere.
Like the sound of history just stopping.
Yes. Usually when you travel, you look for the curated stuff. The museums with the velvet ropes, the pristine beaches.
Bustling city centers, sure.
But there is this massive subculture of people, and I absolutely count myself among them, who are chasing that other feeling. The allure of the ruin.
Right, it's the aesthetic of decay. There's actually a term for it, ruin lust, or ruin and lust if you want to get German about it.
Ruin and lust, I love that.
Yeah, but I think what draws us in isn't just the creepiness or the ghost stories.
What do you think it is then?
It's a confrontation with impermanence. I mean, we spend our lives building things, houses, careers, cities, all under the assumption that they are permanent.
Right.
But when you stand in a hall where the roof has collapsed to let the sky in, you're seeing the reality that nature is always just waiting for the maintenance contract to expire.
Oh, wow. That is such a perfect way to put it, the maintenance contract.
Yeah.
Well, today we are going to explore 6 places where that contract has been definitively canceled. We are doing a deep dive into echoes of the past.
Which is a fascinating topic.
It really is. And what I love about this list we've pulled together from our sources is that these aren't just random piles of rubble. Each one tells a totally different story about why humans leave.
And we have quite the range today.
We do. We have everything from a fairy-like wonderland in China to a really tragic frozen-in-time village in France. And remember, these are places you can actually visit today, with permission, of course.
That why is crucial, though. If you look at these locations as a set, they function as a study in patterns.
Patterns of abandonment.
Exactly. Sometimes a town dies because the money runs out.
Correct.
Sometimes the earth itself just pushes us away.
And sometimes, sadly, it's human cruelty that leaves a scar so deep we just decide to walk away and leave the door open. So let's unpack this. I want to start with the visual that grabbed me immediately.
Hotuan Village.
Yes,
Yeah.
in China. If you search for this place online, you might think you're looking at concept art for a post-apocalyptic movie.
Or maybe a Studio Ghibli film.
Totally. It is a definitive image of nature reclaiming a space.
It really is.
Yeah.
Hotuan is on Shengshan Island, which is part of an archipelago near Shanghai. And you're right, it doesn't look like a dusty gray ruin.
It's vibrant green.
Practically glowing.
Every single surface, the walls, the roofs, the pathways, is covered in this thick blanket of ivy and moss. It looks like the village has been abandoned for 500 years.
But here is where it gets really interesting. This wasn't ancient history.
Right.
People were living a bustling life there in the 1980s.
Which is just wild to think about. It's a very modern ruin.
And that's what makes Hotuan such a fascinating case study. Usually when we think of abandoned cities, we think of a sudden disaster.
A nuclear meltdown, plague, a war.
Exactly. But Hotuan wasn't destroyed by a bang. It was destroyed by a boom.
The economic boom of mainland China.
Precisely. This was a thriving fishing village. But as China's economy began to skyrocket in the 90s, the rural-to-urban shift accelerated.
People wanted in on the action.
Right. The logistics of living on a remote island just didn't make sense anymore. Think about it. Food delivery, education, getting fresh water, commerce, everything is harder when you are cut off from the mainland.
So they didn't flee for their lives.
No, they just moved for better opportunities to escape the isolation.
It's the ultimate victory of convenience over tradition. But what blows my mind is the speed of the takeover.
Nature works fast.
So fast. The depopulation really only kicked into high gear in the 1990s. We're talking about 30 years, give or take, and nature has completely erased the human footprint.
It creates that fairy-like wonderland, as the sources describe it. But it's also a reminder of how much effort goes into keeping nature at bay.
Yeah, we mow lawns, we weed gardens, we patch roofs.
And the second we stop doing that, the subtropical climate of the archipelago just swallows the bricks.
It's officially depopulated now, but it's actually become a tourist spot.
Oh yeah, you have former residents coming back to act as guides, helping tourists navigate this mysterious green landscape.
So Hotuan is what happens when nature wins a slow, quiet victory.
Right.
But sometimes abandonment isn't a slow fade. It's a sudden, violent stop caused by one person's hubris.
And to see that, we don't need to go to Asia. We just need to look at a very strange island in the Hudson River, right here in New York.
Bannerman Castle.
Yes. If you've ever taken the train up the Hudson, you've probably seen this and thought you were hallucinating.
It looks like a majestic, crumbling European castle.
Rising right out of the water, just 50 miles north of New York City.
And the origin story here is just delightful. This wasn't built by a king or a duke. It was built by a Scottish-born merchant named Francis Bannerman VI.
And he wasn't royalty. He was a guy who really, really loved military surplus.
Loved might be an understatement.
He was the king of the surplus industry.
Yeah.
After the Civil War and the Spanish-American War, there was a massive amount of leftover military merchandise. Cannons, uniforms, ammunition.
And Bannerman bought it all. He was essentially running the Amazon of military goods out of New York City.
But you can't exactly store surplus weapons and millions of live cartridges in the Big Apple without people getting a little nervous.
Yeah, he literally ran out of space.
So in 1900, he did the logical thing. He bought an island in the Hudson to build a fortress for storage.
And because of his Scottish roots, he designed it to look like a castle. It's the ultimate storage unit.
It really is.
But unlike Houdawan, which just faded away, Bannerman's dream ended with a bang.
Several bangs, actually. He died in 1918, which halted the construction.
Right.
But then 2 years later, in 1920, the very thing the castle was built to protect ended up destroying it. A massive accidental explosion of shells and powder damaged the whole complex.
Talk about irony.
Seriously. But today, it's managed by the Bannerman Castle Trust. You can take a walking tour from Beacon, New York. It stands there as this jagged shell.
It connects perfectly back to that idea of impermanence you mentioned earlier. You build a fortress of stone, fill it with power, but once the owner is gone, it's just a fragile shell waiting to crumble.
Absolutely. And if Bannerman Castle is about the decline of one man's empire, our next spot is about the collapse of a collective industrial dream.
The economic ghosts.
Exactly. We're moving to Japan, to a place that looks less like a castle and more like a concrete tomb.
Hashima Island, or as it's better known, Gunkanjima, which means Battleship Island.
Even if you haven't heard the name, you've likely seen it. It's famous in pop culture for being a filming location for the James Bond movie Skyfall.
The silhouette of the island looks exactly like a battleship from the ocean.
But it wasn't military. It was formerly a thriving coal town.
The density there is what's hard to wrap your head around. It's a tiny rock in the ocean, but it was incredibly dense.
Imagine a vertical existence. High-rise concrete apartment blocks crammed together on top of a deep undersea coal mine. But it serves as a sobering example of unsustainable industrialization.
Because the entire island existed for one single reason: coal.
Right. And when the coal mine shut down, the island's heartbeat just stopped.
It closed in 1974 simply because of that shutdown.
And the collapse was incredibly abrupt. The jobs vanished instantly. People just got on the boats and left.
Now, we have to pause here because our deep dive needs to address a very challenging aspect of the island's past. We can't just talk about the striking abandoned buildings.
No, we can't. The sources make it clear there's a much darker history here.
Right. Many of the buildings were constructed by Korean and Chinese prisoners of war.
They were forced to labor there under brutal conditions before and during World War II.
So when you look at those crumbling concrete walls today, you're seeing a very complex legacy. We're not endorsing any political stance here, just reporting what the historical sources confirm. It was a site of forced labor.
It's an important fact to convey. It stands as a witness to both economic booms and severe human suffering.
Today, it's one of 505 abandoned islands near Nagasaki.
And it actually features a peaceful Shinto shrine at the center now.
From the concrete jungle of Japan, I want to pivot to something that feels much older. We're going to Italy, to the ghost town of Krakow.
Krakow is fascinating because it contrasts so sharply with Hashima.
Hashima is very 20th century.
Right, concrete and steel. But Krakow has ancient roots. It's perched in the hills of Basilicata, founded by Greeks, with tombs dating back to 540 AD.
So people lived there for nearly 1,500 years. It survived centuries of violence. It survived plagues.
But it couldn't survive geology and infrastructure failure.
It suffered a literal plague of bad luck.
It did. The town was built on a hill, but that hill was geologically unstable. In the 20th century, landslides drove people away.
And the sources note those landslides were possibly caused by poor infrastructure work.
We tried to tame the land, and the land fought back. Plus, there were unfavorable agricultural conditions. That was the tipping point.
But the final blows were brutal.
Yeah. A flood in 1972, followed by a devastating earthquake in 1980. That led to total abandonment.
So it wasn't a sudden evacuation like Hashima, but a relentless battering by the elements.
And the experience for visitors today is incredible. You walk through ruined archways and crumbling towers.
You really feel the reverberations of the past. It makes you think about the arrogance of where we build. Krakow is proof that even centuries of history don't guarantee a future if the geology decides it's time to go.
It's a very humbling ruin.
Okay, so we've covered nature, hubris, industry, and geology. Now I want to move to the third section of our discussion.
The human scars.
Yes. These are places defined by isolation and human atrocity. We're going to Greece first, to an island with a heavy label, Spinalonga.
Known as the Island of Tears.
It's a small island off the coast of Crete.
Originally a 16th century Venetian fortress, but it became one of Europe's last leper colonies from 1904 to 1957.
And for a long time, the narrative was purely about misery. It was seen as a place for unwanted people.
But the historical perspective has shifted. It wasn't just a place of misery.
This is the part I found so inspiring in our research.
They built a functioning society. And a lot of that credit goes to the resistance led by a man named Epaminondas Rhimandakis.
He was a law student, right?
Yeah, a law student who fought for better medical care. He refused to let the inhabitants be cast aside. They created a community with cafes and schools.
They took a prison and built a life. But Spinalonga has a sort of happy ending, unlike the other places on our list.
It does. The island was abandoned in 1957, not because of a disaster, but because a cure for leprosy was found in 1948.
That is such a powerful thought. The ruin exists because medicine won.
Exactly. The residents were cured and could finally go home.
Which brings us to our final location, and this is a major shift in tone.
Is the most tragic location on the list.
We're going to Oradour-sur-Glane in France.
It requires a different kind of attention. This was a peaceful village destroyed by Nazis in 1944.
A German troop massacred 642 people and torched the buildings.
And the mystery surrounding it adds to the senselessness. The source notes it is not known exactly why the massacre occurred.
Just unexplainable cruelty. But what makes Oradour unique is what happened afterward.
The French government decided not to rebuild it. They deliberately kept it as a ruin.
It's known as the Village des Martyrs, the Village of Martyrs.
Preserved to serve as a warning to future generations about cruelty.
So when you visit today, it includes an underground museum. It's a place for reflection on human atrocity amidst what is otherwise a quaint landscape.
It forces the visitor to confront the reality of what happened there.
The silence there must be incredibly loud.
Absolutely.
So we've been around the world today. From the green vines of Houthouan to a tragic memorial in France.
If we synthesize the why of these places, whether it's the economic collapse of Hashima, the geological failure of Krakow, or the deliberate preservation of memory in Oradour-sur-Glane,
It all comes back to the passage of time.
these places are quieter and more reflective than standard tourist traps. They strip away the noise.
And it changes how you look at the buildings around you right now.
It really does. Look at our modern cities today, our skyscrapers and our infrastructure.
Oh, this is a great point to leave you, the listener, with.
If nature were to reclaim our current world starting tomorrow, what would be the fairy-like wonderlands?
And what would be the tragic ruins left for future explorers to find?
Exactly. It's a provocative thought.
It really is. Thank you for guiding us through these echoes of the past today.
It is a pleasure to explore them with you.
And to you listening, next time you plan a trip, maybe seek out that heavier atmosphere. You might learn more there than you expect. See you on the next deep dive.